record here. Everybody, and welcome. So that's a bit abrupt. Welcome to Sonic Talk number 335. I don't have as numeric significance. I'm sure we used to do back in the old days. We used to do a little bit of this number has relevance. So I might start resurrect that because I'm looking for some other ideas. Frankly, after this many episodes, you want to try and bring in a few more features wherever you can. But I want to thank my guests for sticking with us for the majority of those. I think if I start with. Maybe I'll start with Dave Spears, because he's probably been in from show one, pretty much. So Dave Spears, geforcesoftware.com, right there, makers of fine software instruments and collector of fine analogue equipment. How are you, Dave?
Collector of lunatic items. Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
Good. I want to say brilliant Octave Cat. Did you see my headline? GeForce release Octave Cat. Did wonders for the hit count, yeah. Video. No, I didn't even put video in the. I didn't even put that in the headline.
I banned anyone from, because the inevitable thing is when, how much, when. So I've just completely disregarded any of those comments.
Well, that's good. And I just wanted to point out we've also brought in a new chat room thing, because I was finding that when I put it across the bottom, it was cutting everybody's face off. So now it just cuts your left ear off. But you can, when you see it there, you can sort of move into the, it'd be like, it's almost like... I can
look at it.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, as I've been told, don't talk about it. Don't talk about Video Club. So Dave Spears, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. I'm sure we've got plenty to talk about. There's been quite a lot of developments, which is good because it's a slow news time of year, generally. Right, so now that last chuckle there you heard was Mr. Gaz Williams, not songsurgeon.co.uk. It's gazwilliams.me. So you just think add .me on the end of Gaz Williams and you won't be too far wrong, though I think you're going to be doing a redirect or something if you can. Gaz, nice to have you here. Bass player, professional bass player and music technologist with your tree of basses ever growing behind you.
Yes.
Oh, is that an Ashbury?
No.
Warwick?
No, it's an Ibanez.
Blimey.
But that one has got. I've been experimenting with
Wait a minute.
Higher strings.
Wait a minute.
It's got the.
That's not a bass. That's a guitar.
It's
got 6 strings.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a real crime amongst bass players to have more than 4 strings. It's kind of it's seen as like a real, like I'm letting the side down. But the reason that I've done this though is I've got the MIDI pickup on here, and because of the inherent tracking problem with with
lower strings, right?
Pitch to MIDI, yeah. So I've got this tuning up quite high. In fact, this top string isn't even got any windings on it. It's very thin, so it's you can play. And the tracking on it's amazing. So
that makes sense. Okay. I think you could be forgiven that as long as you don't play any jazz funk solos.
What
He's reticent. He's not going to say no, is he?
Useless reams of bibble.
Useless reams of bibble. That's a great line for the show. I think that might actually... Although we have our jazz funk nightmare, maybe useless streams of bibble. Nice. That's a nice phrase, though, Gaz. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think we might use it, unless anything better comes on. That's the chat room challenge, you see. The chat room, who are now positioned in this... on the left here, they can now contribute ideas for show title. If you just put title : then when I'm whipping through the show notes at the end, I can look for it and flag it. But anyway,
title : that would lead on to an anal blaze.
Don't I've nearly got into trouble with that, but I didn't.
Oh really?
There were people asking why I hadn't used that as the title, and I think that's pretty blooming obvious, frankly, because it's very insulting to the gentleman who's just because it's got a small typeface doesn't mean, but it does when you read when it's very small and your eyesight's going, it does look like not anal, anus. Anyway,
anus.
right.
Sorry.
Perhaps let's bring it back to Mark. Bring us back into line there. Mark Tinley, likebing.com, sound artist and musician and creative thinker and fridge magnet collector. How are you there, Mark?
I'm all right.
Good.
I've been buying guitars as well.
Oh.
I bought a Line 6 Variax 700 because I thought I've had the Variax 300 for a while and I really ought to sort of upgrade it and buy a nicer guitar. Although I have got a luthier making a semi-acoustic body for me, and I can't decide whether or not to put the Line 6 electronics in it or not. I sort of fancy a Fender Strat neck on a 339 or a 335 Gibson style semi-acoustic with full of Line 6 things. But then it's going to end up being quite an expensive guitar if I carry on down that route. So I'm sort of deciding at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it means I just bought a Variax 700, which was about £400, which is about
They're really
$600.
nice. They're really nice, actually.
Yeah.
That,
so that was second hand,
right.
But it's in such beautiful condition. I'm sort of thinking, do I really want to rip this thing apart? And it plays so much nicer than the 300. So
can't you rip the guts out of the 300, or have you sold that?
Well, the thing is, the electronics in the 300 are loaded from the front, so it has a scratch plate. So unless this guy's really, really clever and can design it so that he can load those electronics from the back, which he might be.
I've heard of people who've done that with 300s, that they've used the 300 as a donor guitar. Because, because essentially the electrics, I think, are the same as the more expensive ones.
Well, it sounds exactly the same. I mean, it's kind of disappointing. That's a disappointing part. I've now got a guitar that plays really nicely, but sounds identical to the other guitar that I had. So there's nothing.
Haven't they got a bit more? Haven't they got a bit more DSP in them? Those other ones.
It's not the it's not the James Tyler one, is it? This is the 300. They're all of the same generation, the same electronics.
Okay.
I believe.
Pretty much. Yeah.
We reviewed the James Tyler one, and that is really lovely. I have to say, very nice.
What I can't get my head round is if it's got piezo electronic bridge saddles in it, why doesn't it have a MIDI output? Because it's effectively got a hex pickup on it, hasn't it? And then I've read so much stuff about how to convert it, and it sounds like an impossible task, basically running two lots of electronics off a one set of piezo pickup. So it will do one or the other, even if you convert it, it will only do one or the other. So
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm a bit worried. Dave was nodding off then, but until he mentioned MIDI, then he sort of picked up, because this is, I suppose, Sonic Talk. There he goes. MIDI, analog synth. There we go. We woke him up. But interesting stuff. I wish you the very best of luck with that, and I'd like to see it when it's done there, Mark. I think that would be really cool. Very cool indeed. So do show us. We've had a week. What a week. Well, what a day, I suppose, yesterday was. We could start... Do we want to start with the Apple ramifications and then we can leave it well behind, or do we want to start anywhere else? Does anybody have any preference? Let's start with Apple then, shall we? I haven't got anything to play because I didn't get the opportunity to edit down the extremely long and kind of dull sales speak, aren't we brilliant keynote speech. But there were some interesting developments. Firstly, we have a date for the Mac Pro, the new Mac Pro, which is definitely something that I'm quite keen on, which is December. So finally, we're going to get a new powerful desktop, and it's quite interesting really, because it really does. I think with when this comes in, also we got new MacBook Pros with Retina displays and upgraded processors. I'm imagining we're going to have to see a fairly robust move towards Thunderbolt, because obviously there's nowhere to put anything else in those. I don't know, Gaz, was there anything exciting about the keynote yesterday that really thrilled you? iPad Air?
Well, yeah, iPad Air looks good. I think, I don't know how much you take the graph of the processing power, seriously. But I mean, If it's kind of got twice the processing power of the previous generation, then you're looking at quite a powerful machine for music. So I think that is quite interesting. And it's the 64-bit A7 chip in there as well. So that's quite interesting. I think the Mac Pro itself looks, I mean, it's quite an astonishing design that they've done. But, computers are so powerful these days that,
do you need it all?
I mean, do you need it all for music? Well, yes,
I think
it would be
video.
nice.
It's probably going to be a video and modelling kind of. It's high-end stuff like that, isn't it?
Certainly, and I think it's come to quite an interesting point in time where computer upgrades we were always very kind of keen on, because we wanted to be able to run more and more plugins and whatnot. But I very seldom, I don't hit that kind of point. I don't, and I'm running a machine that's a couple of years old. So, I mean, yes, I would like a Mac Pro because it looks cool, and just to know that you've got the hoof there. But I think you
just don't need it.
As I say, you just don't need it. So it is I think that is an interesting point. Of course, if you were into video, you can't get it. You need as much power as you can possibly find. But I think for music, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. I mean, I was trying to work out what the prices are going to be. The base model in dollars is $3,000.
It's going to be
$3,000.
Yeah, it's going to be around about £2,500 quid, I would have thought, which is comparable to what I think
less. I don't think it'd be less than that. I think it'd be about 2,000, I reckon, because if you look at the prices and as if you translate the American Apple prices as a current range to what they are in Britain, they are closer to the exchange rate, not entirely, but so anyway, I don't know. So if that is around £2,000, then interesting. Obviously, the lack of onboard storage is, I mean, for that £2,000, what do you get? A 256 gigabyte SSD drive, and that's it. So it's like, ooh, okay.
Well, I guess they're just going to, get everything external is what they're probably going for, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, the whole kind of piece, the big thing about this super fast RAM. The PCI RAM. What are you meant to be doing then? Will they automate the process of working with your current project in the box, so to speak, and then as soon as you sort of finish that project, automatically it'll back up onto an external drive? Or is that...
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that with all of those gigaflops and gigahertz available, that someone could write a fairly simple command line script that would auto back up your stuff. So yes, I think it needs to be that might need to be part of the OS, perhaps when they finally do come out. That might be an interesting point. But yeah, I think having workflow and working through that way will make a lot of sense. But those are the sort of things that are going to change, because I mean, we are talking about essentially a major move away from, because the storage has to be fast. The computers are really fast, but you still like the MacBook Pro I've got here, I haven't got an SSD in it. It's just got a regular drive in it, so I can't run an awful lot of stuff on that. I mean, Dave, you're a developer. I mean, we've talked about these Macs before, haven't we? But I mean, now they're becoming a reality. We're talking 8 weeks away. Is it something that you would bother with? I mean, or is there really no point? I mean, I guess virtualization could be pretty useful on it, couldn't you? You could run, with that sort of power, you could run a pretty fast PC and Linux emulation and a Mac alongside each other, and it would probably be just as fast as the current crop, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I run stuff in, Parallels or whatever it's called. No, VMware. Which is kind of okay, but you've always got that kind of problem interfacing the audio in and out. No, it's at the minute it's not of any interest to me, and I don't think it's aimed at musicians at all. I think it's the 4K video lot. I think that's really where it's aimed at firmly. So yeah, no, not at all. In fact, what was interesting about yesterday is I didn't watch it because I kind of got tired of hearing how absolutely utterly fantastic they were from the last one. In fact, Rich Hilton put it much better than me. That they'd taken a step down on the ladder of dignity before, so I just kind of didn't watch it. And then I woke up this morning to find that actually my main Mac is 3 operating systems old. That's quite weird, isn't it? The one that I use to do the majority of work, I'm still running 10.6.8 on.
Interesting. We're going to get in that scenario like Windows XP, where some of us are running kind of, because I'm running 10.6.8 on the main switching machine over there, actually. So yeah, I mean, only because I don't really want to upgrade. But I could get Maverick for free now, which is another big deal, I suppose. And I don't know whether that has any kind of relevance to.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. No, I will do that on one of the other testing machines. But I thought I'd leave it until after the podcast, just in case it completely screwed up Skype.
How very kind of you. And there is every chance that it might. I know, Mark, does it have any interest to you? I mean, we've talked about landfill technology and stuff, but some of those iPads look kind of quite tasty, right? iPad Mini, I like the look of that.
Well, less space in the landfill, I suppose. Nice and thin.
Yeah.
You could stack loads of them in a landfill site, couldn't you?
That's true, you could.
How have they got it so thin? I mean, if you think about the thickness of the screen, the glass itself must be, I mean, to be any, to have any strength, the glass must be at least 3 millimeters thick, you'd think. And then the casing, maybe that's a millimeter thick. So have they got the stuff in between?
There is.
Bizarre.
There is no. Yeah, that is kind of. But I mean, so what?
What's going to stop it from snapping in half as well? Though, just if you sit on that, it's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, not something.
So you have to buy an external case to put on it to make it thicker.
And stronger. Yeah, it needs strengthening. Yeah, buying it. That's a good point. Any of, I mean, you've built Hackintoshes and stuff in the past. I mean, have you got enough power? Do you need any more power? Really?
And I would like to have more portable power. I'd like to have, but then that's really just down to putting a faster chip in a computer. The level that those things are at, it's probably, like Dave said, it's probably outside the realms of music. But having said that, if I think about what's in my studio, I was thinking about the V-Synth the other day, and I was thinking, why can't Roland just release that operating system as a plug-in? And then I could have it in my computer. And then I thought, well, my computer would probably just grind to a halt if I did that. But if you think about, the cost of a V-Synth, if you were willing to invest a bit more in faster computing and a little bit in software, then maybe it's, kind of in the future, it would be a route to go. Because every time Roland develop a synth like that, they have to develop all of the DSP for it and all the chips and everything else that go inside it, I guess, and come up with all that proprietary stuff.
Yeah, and that's.
But if you had a mind-numbingly fast computer program that you could just drop these things into, then maybe it could make things more modular.
That's not a bad idea. I don't know whether or not that. I mean, that Roland era in a period of change, obviously with the stepping down of the main man, who's been kind of traditionally much more conservative in his kind of creative thinking, and also very firm about, yes, we need to do this and that, not interested in emulation and that kind of thing because it's so retro. But so maybe that sort of stuff might come along. I mean, who knows? It's a possibility.
Any of the, any of them then, like Korg of the M1, don't they?
Yeah, they made those in software.
All of their previous sort of digital machines are all out there, and the analog ones and all sort of there and usable. So I don't know. I mean, it just, the more processing power you've got, the more bits you've got to throw at making that emulation better, right? So the more DSP there is to throw at something, the closer it will get to the original one. And then, sure, somebody's got to come up with something and go off at a tangent and go like, okay, so we've invented something new as well. But at the same time, if I could have one machine that did everything and it did all of those really powerful things that normally sit in DSP-driven boxes as well.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, when we are eventually getting to the situation where computing power just becomes a commodity, like buying, electricity or whatever. And it certainly in the server realms, where all of Sonic State runs on a commodity that I buy from Amazon, which is just virtual computing, effectively, that's just running on whatever the hardware is, and presumably they just throw more at it. And we're getting to the situation now. I mean, this last breed of Mac this Mac Pro. I mean, I can't imagine it's a very, very niche and specific need, and it's all really again down to the speed of the I/O, because the processing can be done in a variety, whatever. It sort of doesn't matter, and we're kind of getting to that position. I think we've talked about it before, of just essentially an OS or anything is all irrelevant. It's just the speed of the chips or the computing.
But I think this is where the new iPad things become interesting in a way. Everything. We can say that the desktops are plenty powerful enough, but the the iPads becoming powerful enough. I mean, the big thing with iOS 7 now, this inter-app audio, it is actually quite nice now. Now various apps are coming out that support it. So obviously, processor overheads now become a bigger issue on something on the iPad platform than maybe before. But they still didn't do anything to tackle this business about onboard storage. I'd read rumors that the base model of an iPad was going to start at 32 gigabytes, but no, it's still at 16 gigabytes. Now,
that's crazy.
I think, well, it is, because they don't give you any other option to use mass storage devices attached. There's no way to do it. So it's a bit crazy that the really
it's going to be
fantastic
cloud.
Software.
It's going to be cloud-based, though, isn't it? That's what it's just
going
to happen on the network.
In a way, that's what they're looking to do, aren't they?
Yeah.
But from a recording point of view, the amount of time it's going to take to upload like a decent sort of song project up to the cloud is, we're talking like if you. On average, I would say like a single song, if I'm working on a single song, I'm looking at about 4 gigabytes roughly. I mean, it varies, but I would say 4 gigabytes would be reasonable. I am a bit lazy about emptying out the bin and really trimming away audio like I used to in the past.
Why would you need to? Because drives are cheaper, aren't they, etc.
Exactly. So we kind of just tend to be a bit, blasé about that. But so there is very strict limitations with iOS 7 in regards to you letting them access mass storage devices. So if you use a camera connection kit and you plug a USB stick or disk in there, you'd expect to be able to at least back up your data onto that, and you can't. There's no way within the infrastructure to be able to do that. And so GarageBand has just had a big update. I've just downloaded it last night from my iPad, and now GarageBand, if you're running the latest units, you can do 32 tracks on there, or on like my iPad 2, I can now do 16 tracks, and I think that's 16 stereo tracks as well. So, so Apple
it's a
building
reasonable amount of data, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So without being able to I don't know. It seems a bit strange to me. It feels like that they're maintaining this sort of very rigid approach to how much storage you're allowed to have, as you say, to drive everything cloud-based. But what do you get in your cloud? Your iCloud, I think, is 5 gigabytes, isn't it?
Yes, but then there'll be an extra service, so you're going to charge some more. I don't know. I mean, that's the point, though, isn't it? I mean, and let's face it, most people are going to be using this for uploading their home movies and song collection and videos and pictures that they shoot of the kids or whatever. They're not necessarily going to be uploading giant multi-track projects, which we are. But there's going to be a way around.
But they're pushing the GarageBand, aren't they? They're pushing it in the presentation. They were really sort of celebrating the fact that you can now do 32 tracks on GarageBand. So they are pushing that thing as well. So
it's interesting, though. I mean, it's going to be a shift. I mean, I don't know, Dave, what you think. I mean, we talked about how it affects you as a developer. I mean, you don't need the latest stuff. I mean, I guess for instance, when you did the Octave Cat video, it would have been handy to have one of those, because that would have probably rendered in 10 times real time, right? With all of that stuff. Nice. Great video, by the way. But is it? Can you see as a software developer a time when almost platform is irrelevant and it's down to the core concept and the execution of the code?
It would be nice. I'm not sure whether I see it. What did somebody posted a really great cartoon the other day, and it's like, what we need is one nice standard. And then it was like, no, what we need are 3 better standards. And the whole thing. So I don't think you're ever going to get everything to kind of converge in a seamless manner on that. Mark has a very interesting point. I mean, I know I was just trying to look up an email that I had from John. He was saying about this, you know, Diva and stuff uses these zero latency filters, and that's very CPU intensive, obviously. So the more power you got there, but of course, then my worry is, of course, is if you've got a disparity between somebody running, you know, a 2-3-year-old iMac and say something like a super duper Mac Pro, then you're going to get issues there. But yeah, I don't think that answered any of your questions.
No, it doesn't matter. But actually, interestingly, I was listening to some of the commentary yesterday from Twit Network because they were doing a live stream and commentating, and they were saying, you know, this is obviously just going to end up in a situation where we get the iPad Pro, and maybe that's what's going to work, Gaz. The iPad Pro will just have a bunch more storage on it, and, you know, possibly bigger or whatever it may be, and that's so they're trying to drive people into content creation on these devices so that they can then sell them a pro version of the tablet. Maybe that's what's going on.
I mean, bring it on, I guess. I mean, you know, the Surface Pro 2 has just been released, hasn't it? Which
and that seems to have been getting some pretty good. There was Jason Bradbury, who's the Gadget Show guy, who I met, and we went up and did some help setting up his studio. He's been kind of raving about it, going, actually, this is really good. You know, it's got a lot of poke. It's not the Surface. It's a completely redesigned thing with a lot more grunt in it. So maybe that's an option.
Yeah. And that you don't have any restriction, do you, in terms of you can plug a USB drives into that. You've got, and you can plug. It's just a Windows machine, really, in a tablet, isn't it?
Pretty much.
I was just about to say, Windows 8 has to come along soon and blow everybody's minds with something really clever, doesn't it?
Well, are we not at 8.1 already? So, yes.
Oh, we are. No, I mean in terms of musical application, because at the moment we've taken 20 odd minutes to talk about Apple.
Yeah.
And what we're discussing is a device called an iPad, which is a touchscreen interface, and a device called a Mac Pro, which is a computer. And they haven't managed to get those two things into the same realm or paradigm yet. And Windows have. And somebody has to come out with something mind-blowing for Windows soon, which means that I can like touch at my screen and fiddle around on my MIDI keyboards and just have the whole lot, so that I'm integrating those two styles of working. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's we you know, that's the holy grail. It's interesting,
actually. The platforms there as an invitation to a developer to come up with something that will just go, oh no, Windows is the next step, because it kind of dances back and forth between Windows or PC, doesn't it? And it's about Windows.
I have to say though, I've got a laptop here, a Windows laptop with a touch screen, an Asus one, and it's a bit weird to, you know, because yes, you can do certain things with it, and I was just trying it with Sonar, but the whole thing that makes an iPad a really appealing product is the fact that, you know, you don't have to deal with file management, you don't have to deal with all that kind of
latency as well, right?
Yeah, and
on
you know,
iPad,
and you
I touch the screen and sound comes out, but as far as I'm aware, and the Windows 8 machine, I touch the screen and then I wait.
Yeah, so you know, it's like they get so many things right with the iPad from a musician's point of view, but it's just this complete stubborn business regarding storage seems to me to be the main stumbling block, because there's lots of very, very decent class compliant audio interfaces, so you can plug these, you know, many, you know, and it will record multi-channel audio now. So it's I just find it incredibly frustrating, because I actually really like this kind of touch it works, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting as in the chat room, I forgot what it is, somebody mentioned, what about Hackintosh on a Surface Pro? Now, that would be an interesting idea, because then you get the OS 10, you get all of that stuff, but it wouldn't necessarily be linked to the iOS. I don't know if that's possible. I imagine it's probably been...
Finding the drivers is the hardest bit of any of it.
Yeah. Well,
is OS X multi-touch aware, though?
I have no idea. Yes, to a degree, because it's got certainly with the Magic, one of these. That's multi-touch aware, but not in the same direction. But it does.
I mean,
No,
if, if Apple have
if you're
made a
touching-
computer with the hardware in it, so things like the Intel HD 3000 and HD 4000 graphics cards, because they're in Apple computers, then there's a driver there that somebody can poke around at and probably make work in other computers that have the same hardware. But if Apple haven't written a driver for the hardware, unless you're very, very, very clever, it ain't going to work.
Yeah. Well, the simplest thing would just be put an SD slot in it, wouldn't it, really? Put an SD slot in an iPad.
In the iPad,
job's done, really. Simple.
Absolutely.
It just seems crazy, doesn't it? It just seems so obvious, but it is to do with this closed system.
Yeah.
And it's a closed system. You cannot. I mean, if you try and bring an MP3 into your iPad, the only way to do it is through this convoluted iTunes on your computer, blah blah blah.
It's going to have to change. I think it's going to have to change. I don't want to dwell too long on that because we've done
Dropbox is quite good for that.
Yeah, that can work too.
Integrates quite well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's being encouraged anyway. But there's some good stuff there, and it's just a question of it feels to me more like we're on the cusp of a sort of I don't know whether it's convergence or divergence, but it feels like something's shifting at a quantum level. That's taking us in another direction. It's just but we'll have to see what's going on there because there are a lot of other things coming up. Obviously, we've got Bitwig in the go. I've got a beta of that which I finally got working. I had a bit of trouble to begin with, but again, I want to try that on Linux. So all of these things are going to start to make a difference. We're going to see a shift, and it's like you say, is it down to the hardware drivers? But if it becomes irrelevant, then I don't know. Obviously, we have Mavericks coming out as well. I don't know if Dave, you've bothered with that, or whether it's just one of those things you think I actually don't want to know. I'd rather just get on with the work I've got at the moment.
No, that's what I said. I will install it on one of the machines afterwards. I know somebody's had it on the machine here for a while, so.
Right, but it's a free.
Why does it remind me of Tom Selleck? Why does it remind? Why does it? Is that what it is? Was it like a TV program or something?
No, Maverick's the name of Top Gun, the flyer, the bloke played by Tom Cruise. Maverick was the pilot, wasn't he? In Top Gun.
I couldn't get on with that film.
Well, that's understandable. I don't know. It's one of those references, I think. We'll see how it works. Anyway, I want to say it's probably time for an ad, so I'll press the button and see if the ad comes up because it seems to have a bit of latency. I obviously need a Mac Pro Studio. Here we are. Isotope. Thank you very much. Isotope, obviously RX3. They say get ready to experience the fastest, easiest way to perfect your audio, and that's very true because this is the top dog when it comes to audio restoration suite. We've got removing reverb and ambience with the new de-reverb technology. You can quickly reduce background audio and clean dialogue tracks with the dialogue denoiser. Work up to 6 times faster, they say, with audio intelligent processing and other workflow improvements. Never lose an edit because the unlimited undo history is saved automatically right in the new RX document format, and you can have multiple tabs. So you can have 2 versions of the same file open and be doing different processes on them. RX3 is available now, and basically it's going to give you pretty much whatever you need. Get a 10-day trial, fully operational, isotope.com RX. And you've got the advanced version and the regular version, and really, really recommend that in terms of how, if you're into audio restoration or doing video stuff, or in lots of other reasons, it just fixes so many things. Very cool indeed. Right, so let's get on to something jolly, shall we? A friend of mine just had a birthday, and it was his 50th. We went to his party at the weekend. It's taken me almost till now to recover. Free bar, always a bad idea, and spirits. But anyway, it was a fun party. But the invite was basically bring a single, because he's bought himself a 1950s jukebox, and I've got some really lovely examples of them here. And if I go there, I'm trying to think. It was sort of similar to, I think that's about the closest I can get in terms of what it looked like. And he's going to stock it up with singles. I took him actually a Bananarama single. But I could have just as easily, I was thinking maybe I'd love to hear some of Kraftwerk stuff on there. If you were going to populate an electro jukebox, or any kind of jukebox, what do you think you put on it? I'm going to come to you, Dave, first, because I know you probably got an... oh, dear. He said...
Panic sets in.
I don't know. Is there anything that you would... what classic electronica would you put on it, do you think?
Oh, it'd obviously have to be unders, wouldn't it? Left field. Or, yeah.
Yeah,
That
of
would
course.
open up. That would be mine. That would be mine. Every time we used to go to LA, it was just like straight on the car stereo, full volume.
Is that the one with
I'd like that.
Johnny Rotten?
Yeah,
Burn Down Tinseltown and all that stuff.
exactly. Yeah.
Just the thing to listen to while driving down the PCH with the top down, blasting out.
Exactly. Well, we had that, and we would sometimes go up into the Hollywood Hills, and I would play Dolby's Screen Kiss,
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful, beautiful track as
which
well.
was always quite a good
I
one.
actually got some great
and the other thing, anything by John Barry.
great things in the chat room. That's a Heaven 17. Echo Sonic suggests. Yep, good call. Level 42. Yeah, I don't know whether that's acceptable. I suppose it might have to be. Yeah, the Magic Orchestra. Lots and lots of stuff. Yeah, there he goes. Dave is doing the Mark King impersonation.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that.
There is to it.
I know. Mark Tinley. I'm guessing you've probably got a selection of interesting vinyl choices that you'd like to put on there.
I don't have many left, actually.
No, I haven't either.
I went to a funeral last Wednesday, and my brother Adam was there, and we were talking about vinyl, and I was saying, because I said to him, I found a place that will do like vinyl pressings for £24 for a one-off, which I think is quite reasonable.
Very reasonable, yeah.
So you just send the person your audio file on a stick, and they cut it onto a disc. And I said, I've still got some I've still got a clear vinyl copy of Sound of the Suburbs by the Members.
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember that one.
Tinley, that's mine. What are you doing with that? I went, oh, okay, sorry, you can have it back if you want. But I've got an inkling that I might have nicked all of his 7-inch singles, actually.
So what you want to do,
I might put them on there, but very angry. Adam might come back. That one's my one. I want that back.
Maybe what you should do is just get yourself a jukebox and put them all on there, and then lose the key so he can never get them back.
Yeah, I think I've acquired all my friends' records because I've got Jungle Rock by Hank Mazel somewhere as well. That's really rare, apparently. But I know that I nicked that off my friend Julia. She was also at the funeral, actually. Good job I didn't mention that in front of her. But I would put Move On by Fashion, or Move On, oh God, I can't do it. Move On.
There's some great
vocoder.
There's some great ones here. Tea Leaf Tinley, that's a very good nickname. Nash the Slash going on in there. I used to have a Nash the Slash album. Dead Man's Curve, and there was some other Swing Shift 69, I think was what I'm going to try and look that up because that is a real rarity. Nash the Slash, right? Okay. Anyone else care to go? Gaz, I'm sure you've probably got a few suggestions you'd like to get in there while I look this up.
Well, if it was classic electro or sort of, a dancey sort of tracks, I would definitely put Little Fluffy Clouds by The Orb on there.
Yeah, good call.
I still love that every time I hear it. I also love. I was listening recently to. Hadn't listened to it for a long time, but the Moog Cookbook album, and I don't know if any singles ever came off that, but something off that would be good. What else? Oh gosh, so many things. What's it? What was that French band who did? Were they called Space Magic? Oh,
Magic
70s
Fly.
guys. Yes.
Oh no, I'm not. I found Swing Shift 69. Space.
Yeah, it was
They were called Space. Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh gosh.
Here we go. I'm just bringing this up under Nash the Slash, of course, famous for wearing bandages. I remember him playing in my local town in a place that's no longer there. Chemise, I think it was called. He played the electric violin and wore bandages. This is a very poor rendition of it. Oh, now I'm showing me age. That's great, actually. If you get the chance to look that up, try that out. Nash the Slash, sing Swing Shift 69. Very early electronic music, I must say. You're right, though, Gaz. There's plenty there, isn't there? We've got... look, they're just coming. Telstar by Joe Meek. That's Mechanic. Wow, there is so much of it.
It depends what the thing sounds like as well, doesn't it? Because if
jukebox.
it's got a sort of a middly, boxy kind of sound, then all that 70s, I wouldn't put electric music on it. I'd put, well, electronic music. I'd put like all the 70s kind of Slade and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a
Because I
thought.
think they were kind of EQing for that, for the likelihood that most of their singles might end up in a very middly, boxy sounding
Oh, that's pretty
playback system, and they wanted to make it loud, didn't they? So
there's a pretty one there. That's a pretty.
I've been revisiting loads of the tracks that were on that Rhodes video, which was a brilliant video actually. Although I have to say, after probably about an hour and a quarter, I started to think, I wonder whether I probably never want to hear a Fender Rhodes sound again, because it just goes on all the time.
Well, one thing I did.
I've kind of, yeah. Sorry, go on.
The one thing I did notice is a lot of those renditions were not actually the recordings. They were somebody playing them on a Rhodes, and it was the same player and the same Rhodes sound, which probably made it a little bit over-roaded.
Overroaded, it's fantastic.
I think Hocus Pocus absolutely would have to go on a jukebox, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know that.
And Popcorn is going to have to go on.
Got to
there
go
as well,
Popcorn on there. Chicory Tips.
Dave. I've got a recent jukebox story actually. My cousin's got a jukebox in his kitchen, and there's loads of great tracks on there. And I told him recently, I don't know if you all know about this, about the F word in Hey Jude. It's there's a, after, I think it's like the third verse, and anytime you feel a pain, there's a little in the background. I think it's John Lennon. You can hear a little someone go hip, and they go in hell in the background, right? It's there, and you can hear it. Now I was listening to it on the recent 2009 remasters, and out my studio monitors. Someone told me about it. I didn't know about it, and then there it was. I was like, wow. So I was telling my cousin about it. I was thinking, saying about it in relation to the new masters, saying, the thing is, these masters have opened stuff up, and you can hear all sorts of stuff going on in the background, including like this F word in one of the most famous songs of all time. And we're like, so we just thought, he had an original Hey Jude single in his jukebox, so we put it on, and we knew, as you could hear it coming off the crackly old 45 there. It's there.
How
and it's
the hell did they get away with that?
It's amazing. It's just that you might not have known about it then, or not have noticed it.
Well, we've talked about the perception, isn't it? If you're about to hear the word F, then that's what you will hear. So, but yes.
Well,
but it's there too.
It's pretty obvious, and it is there. I mean, I think it's sort of is kind of. Yes.
I have to check that out. I've got another thing to play, actually, while we're on the show, because much as I'd love to stay on this, there's just so many possibilities for this jukebox, and I want to thank the chat room for bringing those in. That's awesome. But I've also got this. This is another eBay finding, and I'm going to introduce it with this, because I found this while I was looking, and I didn't realise this is quite modern. I don't know when this was released, but I think it's quite recent. This is, of course, well, you'll see who it is in a second when the main man makes himself available on the screen. I wonder if I get busted for this one. I'm not sure. This has got to be the coolest granddad. If my daughter had a granddad like it, does look a bit like my dad, actually, Mr. Mayor. There he is, Dieter Mayer, and that's Yellow. Ooh, lovely. Anyway, this is the news that Boris Blank's Fairlight is up for sale. You can get it. Let me see, where is it? I think I've got a page. Oh, I've just shut the bloody window. That's the problem. That's a bit annoying. So now I've got to find it again. Boris, yes, I think I can find it here. Would you buy a used Fairlight from this man? I've got it somewhere. There we go. Let me find the link. It's just here. This is in eBay Australia. There it is. It has no keyboard with it, unfortunately, not the music keyboard, but you get this system. And I don't know what this picture's doing here in that case, because that makes it look like you're getting 2 racks, a whole bunch of stuff, and the keyboard and everything else. But I don't know about that. At the moment, you could pick it up for a mere 12,900 Australian dollars. And the shipping seems very reasonable. Dave, you probably appreciate this. $61 international shipping. Can that be right? I mean, I'm more astonished by that, frankly, than I am by the price of the Fairlight. But you're a collector. You can stick to analog, or does something like this tempt you?
I wouldn't. Seriously, I did go through a stage of wanting a 2X.
Oh, your audio's just died.
But that was just pure nostalgic nonsense. Is it gone? Am I back?
No, you're back now.
And I quite like the idea of a 3. Actually, the one I'd like is the one that Failed Muso's got, which is the one that belonged to Ian Stanley. Yellow really didn't do that much for me. I don't know.
No, I
but Tears for Fears did, actually.
Ian Stanley used to live in Bath, actually, and when I was a lad and we were doing remixes, we did a trade with him, and I'm just trying to remember what happened. That's right, he was doing, he remixed a single called Blue Love, which I think I've told this story before, and I remixed, I think we remixed loads of stuff, actually, in return. He was doing an EP, which was used to promote the rebranding of Twix to Raiders, which, as we all know, failed miserably because it's still called Twix. So I think they're obviously trying to unify the brand from, across Europe and America and what have you. And,
I'm still angry about Snickers and Marathon. Still angry.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can understand that. And yes, he had the Fairlight then. But I think when we were working with him, he used a Roland 770, 760, the big one, not the thin one, the really big Roland sampler with the CRT.
The 50, yeah, the 750.
Was it the 750?
Yeah, they had their moment. They really did have their moment. But as I understand it, the library for the Series 3, I don't think I've ever used a Series 3. When I was Russian, it was a 2, and then that got replaced by the Synclavier. And I don't think I've ever played a 3. But by all accounts, the library of the 3 is infinitely better to the 2X.
Cumulative, isn't it? I've never played one at all. I've seen them about the place, but I've never seen one on. Mark, I'm guessing, you've had a long history of samplers. Could you find some space in your attic for one of these? Or would you bother? I mean, there's something about them, isn't it? They are thought of.
I just want his sound library, actually.
Right.
I want to pick through his sound library and all the little sequences he's made that he's never used on songs, and that would be perfect. Do I want one of those? No. When I first started getting into proper sampling, as opposed to like samplers that I'd made out of shoeboxes and string, but when I bought a Casio FZ1, somebody I know had a Fairlight Series 3, and I think he was a repair guy for Fairlight, actually, and every time one went wrong, he was sort of purloining boards until he'd got enough boards to make his own complete model, so it sort of didn't have a serial number. And then there was this whole thing about it had a worm drive with it, I think, which was 20 megabytes. It was this huge rack of stuff with it.
That was Write Once, Read Many. God, that's showing my age, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. That was actually an optical. You had to put a disc in an optical case, and it was two-sided, wasn't it? Two-sided. Yeah.
And then, I sort of remember thinking, well, it's only got 16 voices. It was 16-bit, but it only had 16 voices, and it was 44.1, and it didn't really seem to have a great deal more memory than the Casio. And I was sort of thinking, well, where's that going? What's going to do? I mean, it was slightly clearer, better quality, slightly, but the S1000 just wiped the floor with the Fairlight, really, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, there was all that time when you just basically, somebody spent a lot of time sampling from the Fairlight into the S1000, so you ended up there was all of those Fairlights. That must have taken a long time.
It was a horrible.
Yeah,
it took him a very long time. I know the man that did lots of those. Actually,
and then they ended up just getting copied everywhere, because I used to I used to push. Yeah. I was a floppy dealer back in the late 80s, early 90s. I used to buy high density floppies from a nameless Korean manufacturer, Star Coal, Star something or other, for 50 pence, and sell them for £1.20 to all the studios, so that they could just duplicate.
Did you deliver?
Did I deliver?
Yeah. Because
No.
there were times where it was like, just call somebody, get some DSHDs, get them in here now, don't care what they cost. And I had this idea that, there should be a guy on like a motorcycle, a bit like Domino's Pizza, just kind of delivering hard drives and floppy drives and stuff. It would have been
You
great.
could just have one of those little top boxes on the back that opened up and it was just like a disc case.
Well, you'd
Would
need
you like to
like
see
high
me?
security though, wouldn't you? Because I bought my Casio FZ1 from the Synthesizer Service Centre in Edgware Road, I think, or near Edgware Road, and they said, "Do you want some HD discs to go with that, sir?" So the synth itself was about £1,500, I think, but I ended up spending over £1,700 because the boxes of discs were either, I can't remember if it was £60 a box or £120 a box, but they were unbelievably expensive.
They were, yeah. Well, the HD disc, the high density disc, because in the Atari they were.
I think they were £12 each.
In the Atari, they were single density drives. Now, what did they hold? Something like 32K, 320K? What was it? It wasn't much, was it?
720 on
720 with the high densities, and I think
double-sided.
Yeah, so the three.
Well, high density was 1.4 megabytes, but then it had a little hole on the left-hand side, and all you had to do was get an electric drill and pop a hole through the left-hand side on a double-sided one, and then it would turn it into a high-density disc.
It's all coming out now.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
Rob GS in the chat room says he spent more time on quick discs than he did on his Akai X7000.
Quick discs.
It's just astonishing, isn't it? It's brilliant. That whole kind of notion of spending more on storage and everything else, and it sort of ties in rather nicely with what you can currently get drives for now. Although they still are quite expensive. They went down and then they went up loads because I think because of the tsunami disaster, it just wiped out a load of manufacturing places, and as a commodity they became very expensive again.
Has anyone got any side quests? Hard drive readers. I've got a load of Hans Zimmer stuff. The 44 and the 88s. I've just got loads of them.
I've got a SideQuest 44. I don't know if it works. I used to use them a lot.
Hilarious to try. Yeah.
I've managed to make
zip
Mac
drives,
work
jazz drives.
I've got loads of zips and jazz. I can read all of those things. I've got a Mac G4 with a SCSI card in it. So if you set, I can copy them all off and make disk images from them.
Oh, really? Now you what are you doing here? You should be working, Mark. You could be making well, I don't know about a fortune. You could be
far too busy looking after a golden retriever. Now, come on.
That's true, and which is probably a much more worthy operation than feeding zip drives into a
So talking about storage, the Magma Thunderbolt chassis thing.
Oh yeah, that was something that came up as well. Good, nicely linked there, Gaz. Well brought into line.
Smooth.
Very smooth. Here we go. I found this on I think we ran a story on it, but there was very little information. This is the Magma new expansion chassis, Roban 3 coming very soon. If you look at this, I couldn't quite figure out because there's very little information whether that is. Well, first of all, it's got an 8-bay hard drive in it, but I wasn't sure whether it also had PCI expansions. I like the idea of that. Imagine if you had a rack like that, and it had hard drive bays in it and PCI slots as well. That would be pretty awesome because then you're talking something that's got fairly portable. You can just drag the whole thing on and have your entire sample library and a bunch of PCI stuff. That sounds kind of interesting, right? Is that what you're thinking, Gaz?
Well, partly as well. It was to do with, we were talking about the cost of all these things in the past, like how expensive these discs were. But I mean, Thunderbolt-related stuff is almost like the modern-day equivalent, isn't it? I mean, it's, ridiculously expensive relative to, like a FireWire drives or USB 3 drives. Magma chassis
stuff is particularly expensive.
Particularly expensive, yeah. And obviously, this is very much aimed at the the high-end pro market, I suppose. But I mean, the whole Thunderbolt thing, we're probably getting on for 3 years into Thunderbolt now, aren't we? And yet, Thunderbolt-related stuff is still. You're paying an enormous
premium
for it being Thunderbolt. And I was wondering why.
I don't know why that is. But just on the other side of it, there's this Sonnet Echo Express, which is a 3-slot PCI, and that's 700 quid. I suspect the Magma one is going to be considerably more than that. But yes, they are pricey. I
was considering putting one of those Belkin Thunderbolt breakout things in my rack, so that I could just carry my Mac Mini about and then plug in to one Thunderbolt thing, and then the whole thing had come to life. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. But the Thunderbolt breakout thing, which basically gives you 3 USB things and a couple of firewires, that's £300. So, or £250 if you buy it from America and wait a week or something. But so I thought, okay, that's reasonable. That makes my life very simple, just one cable. Then I thought, right, I need to buy a cable. So I looked through the price of cables. I had 3-meter cables, like 90 quid or something.
Yeah, it's
like,
still.
Jesus.
I mean, this is
crazy.
This is the thing that's. I mean, I'm wondering whether or not this might have been why they were delaying the release of the new Mac Pro, because there's just not much out there available for it at the moment, and it needs to be picked up. But there's also another factor, which is, if you put all of this stuff on the same bus, it's got a lot of bandwidth. It's using a lot of bandwidth. In fact, I found this brilliant calculator. If you check here, if you go on Google and I put gigabits to gigabytes, and Thunderbolt 2, which is on the new Mac Pro, runs at 40 gigabits, and that roughly equates to 5 gigabytes. So you could write to a drive or whatever at 5 gigabytes a second. Thunderbolt 2. Yeah, which is.
So they've now got a second. Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's sustained. That's a sustained data rate, I think. So, if you think, that's running perhaps display, that's running PCI, what have you, which is going to take a fair bit of bandwidth as well. That's kind of quite a lot. It's got to shift a lot of data over that. Over that, that port effectively. But there are several. But I think there's more than one bus in the new Mac Pro, so you do get perhaps double up. So there are more ports, but I think there are also more than one bus, so you can speed that up. But then the other thing that you can do, if you were talking about this, Gaz, is about more storage. This is PCI cards. If I bring this in here, these are the OCZ Revo drives, which are basically they're PCI cards with flash RAM on them. So they've got an internal solid-state drive. They're really fast. They run at like 900 megs a second, write speed, read and write. They're really, really fast, but they're jolly expensive. I mean, if you want a 240, let's see, the most expensive one I found was 800 quid for a 480 gigabit SSD drive. And I think that runs up to, if I click here, it probably, what does it do? It runs interface 4 times. What's the maximum? Yeah, this will do 1.5 gigs a second transfer rate read and 1.2 gigs a second write.
Wow.
That's not bad, is it? But that's going to be using up 1/4 of your Thunderbolt bandwidth. That's something to think about, eh? Just thought I'd throw that in there. So it's not all good news, Thunderbolt, and that's maybe why there hasn't been as much development for it, because people think, well, it's going to use up loads. But I don't know what the new the PCI bus speed is. Anyone got an idea of what the bandwidth is on that? Can't be that much less.
Well, it would.
Chat room, they might know PCI bandwidth. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can find something out. Oh, I'm hitting with the hard maths questions here. Statistics. It depends how long the chat room is behind. PCI Express, the PCIe bandwidth is, let me see.
They're suggesting that you sell floppy disks at the back of your van to cover the cost of it.
That's not a bad idea. Okay, hold on a look at that. That's,
what would the...
Yeah, hold on.
What would the... Sorry.
It looks like, 8 16-lane slot in each direction. Hold on. Capacity 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 gigs a second. Looks like, and version 4 16-lane slot, each direction would be 30 gigs a second. So I don't fully understand that. So maybe
What would a 4K video stream? What do you think that would actually take up in terms of bandwidth per second?
Oh, that's a good question. What's a 4K video stream? 4K. Well, I 4K video stream. Right, okay. Video stream. Right, I'm just googling it. There's nothing.
Oh,
I'm not working it out. It's not coming
15.
from memory. Sorry.
15, I'm saying.
15. 4K resolution. 4K resolution. What's that? I'm just trying to find it now. Let's see if we go back here. 15 megapixels per second, says Ed in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's true. So yeah, that's 15 meg. So 15. So that means it's going to be just over a quarter. Well, no, a third, isn't it? Pretty much. A third of the available bandwidth of Thunderbolt 2. So that's still, that's not leaving an awful lot spare, is it? Food for thought. And probably too much information, frankly. But yeah, good. Useful stuff. I've forgotten where we started now. Where were we? Mark, have you got... Can you remember where we were? We were talking about samplers and Fairlights, weren't we? And floppy drives.
We were.
And
I don't know how we got the Thunderbolt. Oh, because we were talking about floppy drives, and then we went, how much is storage now?
That's right.
But you said 840 quid for a hard drive, and I bought my 128 megabyte magneto-optical Sony drive for 1,200 quid, 20 years ago. So it's just that it's the leading edge stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And it'll all come down in price, and then we'll all be, I don't know.
All be going.
There'll be another thing soon, won't there?
That's true.
There was something about the Fairlight, you're talking about Boris Blank's Fairlight, and then I think, was it a failed Muso quote or something, that every Fairlight has a story behind it, the Fairlights were only owned by people who were rich and successful, so whatever Fairlight you have, there is an interesting story behind it.
Well, that's true. I mean, as we've talked about Yellow before, this it still tickles me immensely that Dieter Meyer was part of a wealthy industrialist Swiss family and was basically an international playboy who gambled for a living. He's like a Bond villain, real, isn't he? He's just, and in that video, he's even more. He's just like, he
looks like one.
He looks like it's just so villainous somehow and sort of very sleazy, but in a kind of acceptable, old school way somehow. Yeah, and I just love that whole kind of notion of international man of leisure buying a Fairlight for his mate and making some records just because he felt like it. That's kind of what I forget which episode that was in, but it was a very entertaining one because I think Dave, you threw out that information and it was just sort of like, wow, I really didn't expect that.
Yeah, I've read it'll be on the same thing. There was a thing where he set up a stall in New York on a street corner selling the word no for $10.
Conceptual artist, I think we're talking
Which
about.
I just thought was brilliant. Yeah, before he knew it, there's a queue around the block. No.
That's brilliant. Do you know how much money he made?
No, I have a feeling that he gave for every person who said no. I think they had a choice. It was like yes or no. Answer yes or no. So anyone who said yes walked away with nothing. That was the impression I got from the story. I like that.
That's
just giving away $10.
Nice. Oh, brilliant. Just to quickly there, Koshtikai in the chat room has basically given us the... Oops, I'm in trouble with my mouse here.
I've got a real tangent, actually.
60k, 18 gigabits per second for 4K at 60 frames a second. Go, Mark.
No, I did a course, one of those self-development courses, and it was a money course, and you had to ask people for money, which is quite a difficult thing to do. But then the other thing you had to do is one of the homework things was to give away money. And I was in New York and I'd got these dollar bills and I was trying to get rid of them. And I stuffed one into this young Korean girl's rucksack and she was absolutely freaking out because I put my hand in her bag and everything. And then she took the rucksack off her back and she ripped it open because she thought I'd stolen something. And she pulled this money out, was looking at it like this look of absolute, what on earth was that man doing and why is he giving me money on her face, which was
that sounds like quite a difficult challenge actually, because people always expect something, don't they?
We did a killer one at
yeah
What did you do?
When we went to NAM, you know how they're always trying to get you to kind of upgrade to the next car and your car rental car. And at one point, there was this kind of really terrible sort of SUV copy lookalike thing outside, and everyone knows my hatred towards Fours anyway. So, but I'm fairly convinced that this is the same model that's used on Breaking Bad now, or was his car, just a sort of crappy old Dodge thing. Anyway, I persuaded Chris to upgrade in inverted commas to this on the condition that we put, I think it was $50 in the center console. So everywhere we went, I would just ask people, every car park or anything, I'd say, do you like my car? Yeah, it's great. And I said, what does this car say about me? And the first person to say gas guzzling arsehole would win the $50. But nobody could do it. And everyone was just kind of going, oh, yeah, no, it says you're really successful. And it was like, okay, fail. Until we got to Venice Beach, where there's a load of surfer dudes, and they were giving us the evils when we pulled in this wagon. And I asked them exact question, and the guy said, gas guzzling arsehole, and we gave him the $50. And he was completely gobsmacked.
Did he change? Did that change his opinion?
Probably.
He was sort of freaked out, and we just kind of walked off.
Nice. That's a good. What a good thing. I don't think I'd be able to part with that much money.
Well,
it's kind of worth it. We should have filmed it.
It's bizarre trying to give money away. It just makes your brain go into some very unusual places.
Well,
but it also freaks people out, because the other time I did it, I had to get. I was meant to be at this course at 7:00, and I was in a 2CV on roaring up Edgware Road again. I don't know why I spend all my time roaring up and down Edgware Road, but I was.
Can't 2CV
and I saw these two old people at a bus stop, and I screeched to a halt and got out the car, and I was trying to give them this money. And they were like going, no, get away. And I got like waving a £5 note at them. And this other person went, are you giving that away? And I went, yeah. And he goes, I'll have it. And stuck it in his pocket.
Mark, that sounds like an interesting episode in your life. That should have probably had a documentary.
Like a manic episode, but a bit more controlled, I think.
Wow, that's far out. What else is coming up? I think we're probably kind of near to the end of the show. We did have another couple of topics, but I'm keeping them just in reserve, which they have been in reserve for an ages. But maybe there's something better will come along. But the interesting thing that is happening. Oh, hold on a minute. What was that? Oh, it's a white one.
Ooh. It's a very big thing.
Yeah, it does look big. That is the Maschine Studio. Ooh, lovely.
Yes.
Those are two twin AMOLED. It looks bigger in white somehow.
It's it's quite an imposing beast, and there is like little built-in feet, which are actually surprisingly sturdy.
Wow.
And when it's on the desktop, it puts it at a really nice angle, and cool. Where you can really see the screens really nicely.
Wow. I've got to switch. I just got this awful feeling that we're going to get into serious trouble. But thank you for showing us.
That was it. That was a sneak preview.
There it is. See if I can get that at the poster frame, eh? And what else is coming? Oh, yes, of course, because there's Arturia's thing that's being released. Well, you can't see it, but it's over there behind that screen. I've finished my review, and there's been various bits of leakage about that. And they're not far off the mark, is all I can say. And it does sound great. And there's something about the size of certain things that kind of makes them more fit for purpose than others. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, stay tuned. I haven't actually been given the exact time I can of the release, and it's quite annoying really, because I keep looking at the clock going, hold on, what does that work out? So that's 1 day and 11 hours, but it's counting down. So what's that from now? So that means, is it midnight on Friday? Anybody know in the chat room? I don't know. Is it analog? Good question. I don't know what I can say really, but yeah, apart from yes, absolutely. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. But so I think it's Friday at midnight is when they're releasing, but I can't remember. Right, I've talked myself in. I sort of painted myself into a corner here, haven't I? We'll say goodbye to some people. Maybe that's the best thing to do, and then I can yes. So Dave Spears, GeForce Software, over there in your analog heaven. I have a feeling you're going to be getting some digital stuff. You need an Sonic Mirage. That's a good thing to have. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I think that analog could be on the cusp of being completely old and outdated now.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe we should go 8-bit digital.
And Sonic Mirage is still partly analog anyway.
Yeah, Curtis filters.
Yeah. With Curtis in it.
Yeah, I love them. I loved
Me
them.
too.
I probably got some discs. I remember the MASOS operating system, how to program a synthesizer and 2 characters in a hex that you have to load off a floppy disk. There's a way to work. Yeah, whoever designed that, genius. Gaz Williams, thanks for joining us too, and thank you for your little bit of a sneak preview there of something we probably shouldn't have said, but maybe that'll be a tease somewhere. It's not songsurgeon.co.uk, it's gazwilliams.me, and you can find out about what Gaz is up to. He's doing some interesting blog posts and what have you.
Yes, I've got. Yeah, I've written quite a few now, but I haven't actually posted them yet. So because I'm being a bit. Because I'm new to this kind of blogging business, I guess you just have to be a bit sort of
drip feed. You got to time it.
Right, okay. But yeah, I'm going to. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And please, if anyone goes, please give me comments.
There we go. Gaz Williams, get over there. Gazwilliams.me. There it is in full effect. So, Gaz, yes, thank you very much for joining us this week. And
pleasure.
Of course, we also have Mark Tinley, who is looking a bit perturbed. Are you all right?
I'm blogging. Don't talk to me about I went a bit mental with my blog and deleted all of it.
Right.
Because I'd written over, I don't know, 500 blog posts, and then I just went, just doing my head in, so I deleted it and had a bit of a rant, and now I'm sort of thinking maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I have started a new music technology blog, but I don't know exactly where it is, and you can probably find it if you type my name in Google. But
okay. Well, thank you. Well, you let me know, and I'll put it in the lower third and everything. It's all part of the service. Although Gaz would beg to differ, obviously, because I haven't put it in his. Maybe I'm waiting till I reach critical mass, and then I'll do them all at the same time.
Right. I nearly registered me.me when they first released the me domains, but it was 45 quid, and I thought that was a bit too much, really. And then I think Yahoo nicked it.
You know what?
I am getting a little bit embarrassed saying it though. GazWilliams.me. It does sound a bit egotistical, doesn't it? You know, it's sort of.
I don't know. I think it's quite good, actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's good. All right. Okay. All right.
Rich is in the chat room, by the way. I just noticed.
Oh, is he? Rich Hilton in the chat room. Let's.
Yeah, he is.
He must be in somewhere.
Say thank you.
And there we go.
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed being here.
Thank you very much, Mark. And nice to see you, Rich. Rich, of course, is on tour with Nile Rodgers, Chic. In fact, that was one of the stories we were going to do, which was the collaboration potentially between Nile and Giorgio Moroder. Interesting. So, we'll. I think the chat room on the left-hand side works better because it doesn't. I was getting a bit of this going on, particularly with you, Mark. If I put your lower third up and I put it there, then it would just basically come up to about. It would come up to just under your nose, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right, so it's far better.
Might hide the hair coming out the end of my nose, I suppose.
Anyway, that was it. Sonic Talk number 335. That was it. It could have been a Gibson. There was a Gibson semi-acoustic classic. That's what I should have had for the number. Or maybe I'll do something next week. Anyway, I want to say thanks also again, and more so to Isotope for their continued sponsorship of the show. If I can do it like that, can't I? Isotope RX 10-day free trial, isotope.com/RX. Download it. It's fully functional. And
did you do a competition?
Oh, hold on. Echo Sonic's got a cracking one. Loboto.me.com. Loboto.me.
Oh.
That's cracking, isn't it? I wonder if that's gone. I am sure it has. It has now, anyway. Well, no, I haven't done a competition. That's kind of it. But yeah, there is talk about maybe doing another remix competition. I think the only thing stopping me for that is we used SoundCloud. And frankly, I'm not paying 70 quid a month for SoundCloud to manage a few things, and I just think it's and it's not that much, but that's what they charge, basically €70 a month for the facilities that we need to be able to have an anonymous Dropbox and stuff. And I just thought that's just way over the top. As we discovered, also, it was quite difficult for us to do the indexing and kind of categorizing. It was just really clumsy and painful. Anyway, I won't go on because that's it. It's all over. Sonic Talk 335. It's a wrap. Now I can fade to black, can't I?